So this segment is called something like, is this the most woke Pope ever? But quick disclaimer, mainly so I don't get attacked in the comments, because as I said, if I do get attacked, I just won't do the podcast anymore. As I said to Josh earlier, I'll just simply take my ball and go home.
Nick, no.
But the reason is that you shouldn't attack me, guys, is it's not an attack on Catholics, but this is looking at different Catholic views on the Pope, some of whom are not thrilled and some are okay with it. And it does happen with all Protestants, I found out just before, but that's a mere coincidence, although these two are atheists anyway, so really I'm closer to the Catholics than these two.
I did point out that even though I am not religious, I still join in on the sectarianism.
Right, you just
I don't want to miss out on the good stuff.
Good bit of weekend sectarianism. Yeah, but you guys, to me, as atheists, you're basically Satanists, and I'm basically with the Catholics, really. So.
Well, thanks, Nick.
Yeah, watch what you say, or sacrifice you.
I tried to get on with the comments, and I've just sacrificed you two instead. But, anyway, let's look then. Is this the most woke Pope ever? So the Pope here has blessed a block of ice at a conference called Raising Hope for Climate Justice, and maybe we can have a quick look at this here if I can work the tech.
I would now like to invite you to stand for the blessing of the waters.
Can we turn it up?
Yeah.
Can I turn it up? Is a great question.
Yes. Well done.
People don't understand. It's like having Parkinson's using this thing. So for anyone just listening, this is the Pope blessing a block of ice.
It's very exciting listening.
It's quite relaxing.
It is,
I'm quite relaxed, actually, just watching this, I have to say.
Yeah, there's not an awful lot of action here, but he does then do a blessing. Then they sing a song.
Are they going to release that bit of ice back into the wild now? It's going to go back to its ice cap friends and regrow.
Right. I was taken to a
Lord
big room.
of life, bless this water. May it awaken our hearts, cleanse our indifference, soothe our grief, and renew our hope through Christ our Lord.
Well, it's pretty much that. You get the idea. We won't play the whole 5 minutes 50, but you get the idea. They sing a bit later. Now, some people say, well, this is just blessing water. This is a normal Catholic thing. So some people have said it's completely fine. Calvin wasn't one of them. Calvin puts the Mark Wahlberg shaking head gif there, so he wasn't too happy. And of course, in case you're wondering, Arnold Schwarzenegger was obviously there. He was part of it, waving this.
The Iceman
he does
himself,
like ice.
Mr. Freeze, was there in the
Mr. Freeze was there, waving. I'm not gonna. I mean, honest, I don't really know what's happening right here, but
I used to do that in preschool. They'd have a parachute with beanbags.
They're waving a large cloth for the listener. And that's all I can tell you, really. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was there, and he did a speech saying, "Guys, there are 1.3 billion Catholics." He was sort of impressed with the numbers. Great enough, tremendous numbers was his sort of thing. But not all Catholics were happy about this. Matt Walsh, not thrilled. Fair to say. He says horrific, the whole thing. Pope Leo blesses a block of ice and then stands there while these communist freaks do some kind of weird pagan earth-worshipping hippie ritual. The leader of the Catholic Church shouldn't be anywhere near this nonsense. What the hell are we doing here? No question mark.
That sounds like it's taken straight out of Gran Torino or something, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
You ever come across someone you shouldn't have? Yeah. Yeah, he can be grumpy old Walsh there, but he is, he's a Catholic, isn't he? No, it's not all Catholics feel this way. He does, though. And Home Matt says it's worse than you know, Matt. This is the tip of the iceberg. Oh. Someone had to say it.
Boo.
Someone had to.
Did
terrible.
Laugh, actually.
Well played.
Now, this Groiper here says, collated a load of people sort of attacking the Pope based on this and said, that's actually, you're doing the wrong thing, Matt Walsh, because you are encouraging attacks on Catholics. And this person says, do you feel any shame that your comments today got these responses from non-Catholics? You even made someone question why they're going through RCIA, which is the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults as part of the Catholic confirmation. But Matt Walsh doubles down. He says, right, the scandal is not that the Pope took part in a pagan climate justice ritual, but that I commented on it. You should definitely keep pointing the finger of blame at commentators rather than the church leaders who are actually doing these things.
Fair comment, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. And so there was further controversy, though, not just the ice thing. So the Cardinal Shupich, who is the Archbishop of Chicago, amongst other things, gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Senator Dick Durbin, who is known to have been a lifelong supporter of abortion. So this hasn't gone down well with Catholics. And this received more than 40,000 signatures in a petition against it. So the Pope was sort of doorstopped, essentially. He was kind of like, some people said it's like a football manager. He was like being harangued and asked questions about this. So he was, well, not forced to, but he was asked to answer on this.
Just wanted
For
to
what?
ask one thing that has become a bit of a divisive subject in the US right now, with Cardinal Supich giving an award to Senator Durbin. Some people of faith are having a hard time with understanding this because he is or rather, he's for legalized abortion. How would you help people of faith right now decipher that, feel about that, and how do you feel about that?
I'm not terribly familiar with the particular case. I think that it's very important to look at the overall work that a senator has done during, if I'm not mistaken, 40 years of service in the United States Senate. I understand the difficulty and the tensions, but I think, as I myself have spoken in the past, it's important to look at many issues that are related to what is the teaching of the church. Someone who says I'm against abortion but says I'm in favor of the death penalty is not really pro-life. So someone who says that I'm against abortion but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants who are in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. So they're very complex issues. I don't know if anyone has all the truth on them, but I would ask first and foremost that there be greater respect for one another and that we search together both as human beings, in that case as American citizens or citizens of the state of Illinois, as well as Catholics, to say we need to really look closely at all of these ethical issues and to find the way forward as church. Church teaching on each one of those issues is very clear.
Thank you.
Well,
That was wild.
Look, as you've been very keen to remind me, I'm merely a satanic atheist, and therefore no Catholic theologian, but I would have thought there would be a difference between, say, an unborn child in the womb and like a murderer on death row.
I was going to say exactly that same thing, yeah.
Yes, and many have said this, and that, according to many, was the church's teaching until very recently. And so, yes, it's not gone down well with many Catholics. And of course, the migration thing was a strange comment as well, to tie the issue of abortion to anti-immigration sentiment. It seems very strange.
Yeah, and also if you're against abortion, you have to be for open borders.
Yeah, this is
okay.
Tenuous, it seems to me. But hey, I'm not a Catholic. But let's look at what some Catholics say. I mean, Pascal here says, I know there's a good chance I'm wish casting, but if you read what he actually said, this is actually fairly okay. He's not taking a position on the death penalty or anything else. He's just using these examples to make the point that a politician may not check every box of Catholic teaching, but still be broadly in line with the church or deserving to be honoured, which is true. It's perfectly easy to imagine him flipping the issues and saying something similar about J.D. Vance. But is it? Because one thing I didn't mention earlier was that there was lots of controversy when this Pope came in. Is he woke? Is he based? And people were trying to figure it out. And there were some tweets that seemed to be anti-Trump things that he had reposted. So there was always that suspicion with him. So anyway, Matt Walsh again replies to this. If a politician supports abortion, he is not in line with church teaching to any meaningful degree whatsoever, and should not only be disqualified from Lifetime Achievement Awards, but should obviously be excommunicated. Abortion is not just one issue that Catholics can have differing opinions about. To support abortion publicly, much less to fund and facilitate it, as Durbin has for 40 years, is to be in a state of grave mortal sin and open rebellion against God and the Church. It should not be difficult for the Pope to say this, or for any leader in the Church to say it.
If I were a Catholic, it'd be this kind of Catholic. I think that this is a much better argument than the counterpoint.
But also, this type of argument feels actually eternal, right? It feels authentically Catholic. Whereas the position from, look, if Pascal's right about it, but it still means that it just feels like it's pandering to the fads, progressive fads of the day, right? It's trying to make Catholicism accessible to progressivism, as opposed to being authentically itself.
This does seem like the moral argument as well, the more moral one, certainly.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a very interesting point on what you said there, Luca, later. But Michael Knowles agrees pretty much with Matt and adds something else. He says, with a sufficiently broad definition, one cannot kill a spider and be pro-life. A term one recalls...
I'm definitely going to hell then.
I always put them outside, which is apparently that doesn't help either. Anyway, a term one recalls which is a political slogan rather than a precise moral category. So let's put it more bluntly. Cardinals should not give Lifetime Achievement Awards to infanticidal politicians. So Yeah, and just anyone forgot, basically, he gave the Lifetime Achievement Award to this Durbin guy. We'll find out in a minute. He actually ended up refusing it. But another take, Seth Dillon very much agreeing again. Someone who says, I'm against abortion but in favour of the death penalty is not really pro-life. This is a shocking error from an authority in the church. The pro-life position is that it's wrong to intentionally kill the innocent and defenceless, not the guilty and dangerous, Josh's point. And putting dangerous convicts to death is one of the many ways we protect the innocent. Well, you both said that. It's, clearly a very strong point.
There's a lot of people protesting the Pope, aren't there, here, that are Catholics?
Yeah. And I will
Protestation, interesting.
Point, yeah. Wonder where that could lead.
Pot.
Yeah.
It's happening again, folks. It's going to be bigger and better than ever.
Slightly different view here. This person points out Francis revised the catechism on this. The church teaches in the light of the gospel that the death penalty is inadmissible because it's an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person, and she works with determination for its abolition worldwide. So, but then people will just counter that by saying, well, Francis was woke anyway. The last guy was woke. So even if he revised it, he was just also woke. So,
a big fan of like liberation theology and the likes. I did a little digging into that, and it's all madness. It's basically like theological Marxism. It's terrible.
The crazies always rise to the top, don't they?
They do.
So Mike Cernovich, who actually follows me and retweets me sometimes, smart cookie.
Same here, yeah.
He says he's a smart cookie. He says the Pope couldn't last 5 minutes on. It's quite hard to be. By the way, people wonder why I'm squinting because there's a light going right across it. The Pope couldn't last 5 minutes on pints with Aquinas or Michael Knowles, and they would be nice. Someone not as nice would shred him. The Pope posted slop. He morally equated a murder with an unborn child. Reddit tier atheist slop. No offense to you guys on the atheist bit.
It's all right, we don't believe in anything anyway.
And Pozzo says the same. I can't believe people are defending what Leo said here, just went full woke. The Bible is explicitly pro-death penalty, as was the Roman Catholic Church herself for millennia until about 5 minutes ago.
True.
Certainly nowhere is pro-death penalty. God says, if someone spills the blood of someone, you have to spill their blood because what they've done is so heinous. I admit that's Old Testament. But that's as far as I got. I was like, yeah, I'm sticking with that. Yeah. I stuck with that part. And this is on Luca's earlier point. Cernovich says he could have chosen any other issues. He deliberately used far left-wing culture war wedge issues rather than say marginal tax income rates or long-term capital gain exemptions for the sale of a primary residence. I'd love to see the Pope having a view on that.
That's great.
Excuse me. What do you think of long-term capital gain exemptions? Well, my child.
The Pope comes out and says taxation is theft. But tithes are not.
Full-on ANCAP Pope. And
here's loopholes so you don't have to render unto Caesar.
Yeah. Slightly different take. Just as I'm being balanced and giving different Catholics the views here. I'm not being all what's the word? I was going to say Protestant.
Partisan.
Yeah, partisan. Thank you. What's that? I don't get much sleep when I do this podcast, guys. That's an obvious word for an English.
It's not that scary.
English masters. The award was specifically in recognition of his singular contribution to immigration reform and his unwavering support of immigrants, which is so needed in our day. It has nothing to do with his support of abortion or in an alignment with the church. The church has the right, as it has traditionally done, to honour a person for a specific good deed, even when not in full alignment with all church teachings. This is the point the Pope is making. Even non-Catholics and atheists have in the past been beneficiaries of the church honours. So the argument there is, it's not about the abortion thing, chill out. It's just about the immigration thing, which I thought was a slightly strange argument.
Yeah.
Which Matt Walsh, again, obliterates. So it's appropriate to give an award to a man rage tweeting at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's appropriate to give an award to a man who participated in facilitating and funding the mass slaughter of children because he also was an advocate for open borders and the destruction of our national sovereignty. This is one of the worst things about weak leadership in the church. It compels otherwise good and faithful Catholics to humiliate themselves by defending things they know are indefensible. I must say, I thought that was a strange argument. It wasn't for the abortion thing, it was for the immigration thing.
Yeah.
Also bad.
I think the point they said about they don't necessarily have to be giving an award for the entirety of someone's existence, that seemed reasonable. But the example of, it's for open borders, yeah, get lost.
Yeah. And he did end up turning it down, Durbin, as I said, because it was just too controversial. So Cernovich was ahead of this. He says, sorry, Catholics, this new Pope is an open borders globalist. He'll be pushing for abortion soon. This isn't a guess. You can scroll his X accounts and see what he's been up to. And this was he tweeted this back in May, and it was things like this. It was a certain repost that he'd done, basically, and that was where the controversy arose from. So Cernovich was ahead of the game. Now the question is, can I get out of that tweet?
If you click the
Absolutely
X
not.
on the top left.
Yeah, in theory, but people don't realize moving this mouse is actually much harder than a conventional mouse.
Would you like me to do it for you?
No, I'm there.
There we go. Well done.
You just look like
Don't want any help from those
you look like you can't
snivelling
operate.
atheists.
Look like you can't operate a mouse, but people don't realize at home it's hellishly difficult. Anyway, no pun intended. So Pozzo says the account was right there. The tweets never lie. But some other points. Raw Egg Nationalist, it was recently on my podcast, check it out. Here's a prediction. Pope Leo will give his blessing to climate migration soon. The idea that tens or hundreds of millions of third worlders must be brought to the West in advance of climate change, making their homes uninhabitable. Bookmark.
Well, the will if he keeps nicking the rice. Just keep taking the rice, doesn't he? So the climate will change.
And did you say rice or ice?
Ice.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Nicking their rice.
Nicking both.
Hates the Far East.
Catholics are back in Japan again.
And Cerno points out what's funny about all this is that the supposed racists all wanted the based African as Pope. Nobody wanted a shitlib from Chicago, which is why the Vatican, Lavender Mafia, selected him to usher in a far left-wing globalist agenda of Bolshevik terror. Typically on the fence from Mike there. Now, another one, Dissident West. I don't know if that's some Indian account or what, but no disrespect. No disrespect to my Catholic friends, but I don't see how you can possibly defend this. Christians are being genocided in Nigeria. Speaking of Africa, and the Pope is praying over a block of ice to appease climate change Marxists, make it make sense. There is that, we've got that genocide in Nigeria, or some people are calling it. And why not talk about that, for example? But there is one, well, there are some Catholics who have a different take. So I want to try and give all the different takes. So this chap, here's the cool thing about being Catholic. I don't have to make it make sense because regardless of what the Pope does, the Catholic Church is still the Church of Christ. When Protestants are scandalized by their pastors, they just hop on to another church because in their theology, a church is a church is a church. But I have nowhere else to go, nor do I want to go anywhere else. Whether the Pope is on point or far left field, I know one thing to be true. The Catholic Church is the Church of Christ and is protected by the Holy Spirit. So I wanted to give that take as well, that it doesn't matter what the Pope says about political things. And there is one other young Catholic who had a very similar take, weirdly, and I thought we would play this different take on it from another Catholic chap.
Jared Taylor had a post today. He said this Pope has betrayed his people. He was an advocate for mass migration. It's like, okay, sorry the Pope isn't a white nationalist. Sorry the Pope isn't like a Confederate. Like, I'm sorry the Vicar of Christ on earth. And respectfully, I'm sorry the Vicar of Christ on earth, the Supreme Pontiff, is not like a low former Klansman. Like, sorry he's not more like who's that guy that speaks at Ameren every year? Sorry he's not a neo-Confederate. And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with the Pope on mass migration, but it does need to be considered that he is speaking for humanity as a whole and not necessarily the United States or even Europe for that matter. He's speaking for humanity as a whole. Now, you may disagree with that as a white person, and I certainly do, but this is a planet with a lot of poor brown people in it. It's just the truth. If you're the head of a global institution, if you're the head of the Catholic Church, Catholics have to acknowledge this. This is not a white nationalist organization. It is a universal institution. And it just so happens that the state of planet Earth today, like it, love it, gotta have it, Cold Stone, whether you like it, don't like it, whether you hate it, it's a lot of poor brown people. And I don't necessarily agree with what the Pope says about how America should conduct its business, but for him to be empathetic to the plight of the global poor that are migrating from destitute, poverty, anarchy, and chaos, you can sort of see where he's coming from.
All right, so there you go.
Nuance there.
Yeah, different take from that clean-cut young Catholic man. And that was about the previous Pope, Francis, but it's all the exact same points.
Yeah. It all applies. Well, this was one of the things, because I remember doing a segment where I covered the death of the last Pope, and we were looking at the election of who was going to be the next Pope. And this is just what you realise, that because of the state of the globalized world that we're living in now as well. It means that the Catholic Church has more areas of the world to represent. You know, gone are the days when it was merely a question of Europe and the Middle East during the era of the Crusades, right? It has to give moral consideration now to Asia and Africa and Latin America.
Over the past 1,000 or so years, the Pope's seat was sort of seen as a way of jockeying for power between European powers, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of competition to get, you know, someone up from France or Austria, obviously Italy, and or even Germany, you know, depending on where you were.
The only thing that I would say, of course, sort of from my atheistic perspective against the Pope's ideas about mass migration, of course, is that even though it might be deemed compassionate to help the poor, you know, global south in this way, it's not compassionate to the people that you're forcing them on. And all you're actually going to end up doing is degrading the standards and the quality of life of the place that they're going to, whilst also simultaneously impoverishing the lower south as well, because you're depriving it of all of the people that could work and labour to make it better.
I also think compassion's got to be applied appropriately. Like, if you can't build a successful country and therefore you've got to move to another country and lower the living standards of their country, ride on their coattails to civilization, that's not really someone who deserves compassion, in my opinion.
Yeah, a couple of things. I mean, one thing is, it's always very annoying. There's that meme of like, I'm not a Christian, but if I say this to you, maybe I can get you to do what I want, which is open your borders. And that's always very annoying. It's like, oh, I thought you were a Christian. Why don't you want infinity boat people? So, but if the Pope says it, it's maybe a little bit different. When your average atheist says it, it's just a rhetorical technique to say we want to make you do what we want. But yes, but on the other point, you've got that global consideration that Fuentes points out there, and that is a consideration. And the irony of that is with the Church of England, that makes them slightly more base normally, when someone like Welby couldn't quite say what he wanted to say because he knew he had Nigerians who would disagree. He wants to go full woke, but he knows he's the head of this global organization where lots of people actually are not woke. So he had to be a bit cautious the other way when it came to maybe things like gay marriage or abortion and so on. So they've got that consideration. But in this case, it's being used to make the Pope more lefty. Anyway, there's some of the different arguments. I mean, in summary, in the past 24 hours, Pope Leo has said being pro-life means more than just opposing abortion. Donald Trump's treatment of migrants is inhumane. Pete Hegseth sounds like a reckless warmonger. Climate change is the defining moral issue of our time. He also blessed ICE. That's actually a Democrat guy celebrating it. So that's just a... I clicked, I was like, he's not like taking the... He's actually just saying great.
Right.
So
yeah, well...
he's just saying a win. So I don't know. So there's some different angles. Don't attack me, Catholics. Hopefully we represented different views. Just thought I'd check in on the woke Pope, and that is my bit.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.